really, men are all about respect. Even from the youngest age, it is about respect. And women want love, but I think that our husbands are more able to love their wives when they also respect their wives.
Help me, Mama!
Hi everybody, this is Emily for Help Me Mama. Today I'm going to be talking about what can you do when you feel underappreciated or just totally unappreciated by your husband. It's the closest relationship that we have, and it can be a pretty tough one. Now, before I begin, I have to just give props to my husband. I have not felt underappreciated or unappreciated for a long time, but there have been times when I did feel this way, and I talked to him about this because I've just seen this issue come up a lot, and I was just asking him if I was feeling unappreciated, what could I do? What would you want me to do? How would you want me to bring it up? So these are some of the things that we discussed of how you can bring this to attention to your husband. And, you know, if you're a stay-at-home mom and he doesn't know what you're doing, it's a way that you can inform him, you might say, on some of your duties. So let's jump right in. One more thing Ivan wanted me to say as a caveat is that one thing that he as a husband struggles with me is that he will show appreciation in a way that I don't understand. So before you say like my husband doesn't appreciate me, he said you just want to check and make sure that you're understanding the way he's appreciating you, because like my husband is kind of like he's like the king of understatement, okay? So he might come home and say like, oh honey, the place looks good. And to him, that's saying like, you're doing an amazing job. Great work, okay? That's how I would want to hear it, you know, like big hug, great job, like let's celebrate, okay? That's how I want to be appreciated. But to him, he's recognizing like everything's going well here. Good job, like that's your attaboy. So just be sure, he said, just be sure that you are understanding the ways that your husband is appreciating you. It might be in different ways. He might be saying it. He might be, you know, quietly doing the dishes. That might be his way of showing appreciation or whatever. So just try to keep that in the back of your mind. Husbands don't always show appreciation in the way that we want to receive it. And that's something that you can talk about with them in a nice way. Always in a nice way. Please remember, respect, kindness, even when you're frustrated, can be so helpful. Okay, so now let's just dive in. Number one, have him watch the kids by himself. Now, husbands, if you're mad at me for this one, this was my husband's idea, okay? He said, yeah, if they're feeling like you're being a lazybones Jones, you have to have them watch the kids, okay? And I would do this in a respectful way. I wouldn't be like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna leave right now and you can watch them for the next day and a half. No, okay? Now he said, be kind, okay? If the kid is smaller and they've never watched baby before, short amount of time, okay? You also don't want to punish your child who's never been alone with this man who will probably forget to feed them, okay? Like sometimes it's gonna happen. Or forget to change their diaper. Like we went to a wedding one time, Ivan was in charge of diapers. That diaper did not get changed for, I don't even want to tell you how long. So it's gonna happen. If the kid is older, you know, 3, 4, longer time, okay? 3, 4 hours rather than 1 to 2 hours. And then the time grows with dad's capability. I mean, some dads, when they first become dads, just like some moms, when we become moms, like have no idea what they're doing. So be kind. You don't want to like dump baby on them and they don't know what to do, therefore baby doesn't get taken care of very well. Prepare your husband kindly. Give them the minimum requirements. Please feed the baby while I'm gone. Please change the baby's diaper. Please take them to the bathroom. But I would say just give them minimum requirements. Don't expect them to like read them 5 books and, you know, do all these, give them a bath. Make it really simple for them, because just like you got the work built up over time, you want them to sort of have that buildup of work over time, and then they will eventually see all that you're doing. And just one time will probably be enough for them to say, like, it's a workout what you do. Okay, so be kind to them, but definitely have them watch the kids so that they have an idea. Have them watch the kids a couple of times by themselves. And again, don't do it in a mean way. Just say, like, look, I'd really like to go and sit and have a cup of coffee with a friend. Do you think you could watch the kids by yourself for a little while? 1, so that I can have a break, and 2, so that you can spend some personal time with our children, and 3, so that you can understand some of my responsibilities a little bit better firsthand. I would really appreciate that. And I think that that's a perfectly respectful and reasonable request for a wife to make. So the next one is discuss expectations. Now this one was more of my idea because I'm the talker, right? My idea was to, you have sort of your business discussion. I talked about this in my video about how to get your husbands to help out. And if your man is more of a businessman, you sort of, without calling it a business discussion, in my mind, it has to be an unemotional business discussion sometimes if I want him to actually think and change action. Now always low expectations at first, okay? Somebody's not going to change if they don't care, and somebody's not going to change if they think you're an emotional wreck, and somebody's not going to change if, like, right away. It's just that change is never going to happen. Like, oh my goodness, my wife is absolutely right. They might realize that. And I'm going to change everything in my whole world. Like, have you ever done that for your husband? Probably not. So when we expect change out of each other, really you want to expect gradual change. So that's number 1. So discuss expectations and exchange respect. Be like, honey, you are a hard worker. I am grateful for the work that you do. And go in detail about the wonderful things that he does. Say, honey, I respect you. I want to respect you more. I also want you to respect me. And men are all about respect. Even from the youngest age, it is about respect. And women want love, but I think that our husbands are more able to love their wives when they also respect their wives. And I think it's harder for women to do, possibly. This is my hypothesis. But it's harder for us to command and negotiate respect because we want love more, okay? But I think something that is helpful is that if you have the respect of your husband, he will also love you, okay? And in a deeper way, because respect is sort of like the mode of communication and negotiation for men, if that makes sense. So exchange respect. I want you to see how hard I'm working. And so let's talk about what are you expecting from me throughout the day? And I'll tell you sort of what I do throughout the day. Let's see if they match up. Another thing to do is go over the minimum requirements. Like, okay, honey, if you feel like I haven't done, if you walk in and you're frustrated immediately, what's causing that immediate frustration? Like in our house, the first thing that you walk in and see is the kitchen. And, if it would be helpful to my husband, if he just would find peace when he first walks in the door, I could wipe down all those counters so at least the first thing he sees is clean when he gets home. And I don't think that that's a huge burden. Just ask for those 1, 2, 3 minimum requirements. Like if you could just have these couple of things done every day when I get home, it would really make our home a peaceful place. I think that's okay for your husband to tell you those things. And you want to be able to tell him, okay, here are my minimum requirements. If you could please not assume that I'm being lazy. I think that's a fair minimum requirement of you to ask of him. Okay, so talk about your minimum requirements. Talk about those expectations. Are some of those expectations reasonable? Could you feasibly do that? Are some of those expectations unreasonable, and why? But it needs to be a respectful exchange, okay? And you can talk, I think it's sort of okay to talk about the household chores in terms of business. What can you do on a weekly schedule? What can you do on a monthly schedule? Some of these things are unrealistic for me right now, but how can I grow in these areas? Have it be sort of a, I think of it almost as like a performance review discussion. And at this point in my marriage, I'm sort of okay with the performance review because I want to improve as a wife and as a mom. And so if you're initiating this conversation rather than he sort of forcing it down on you, you'll probably have a better attitude about it. And it'll just, the better attitude will make it actually go better for the both of you. So I would introduce this as a wife of like, what do you want me to improve on? Why do you walk in and assume I haven't done anything all day? Or if you think that like, oh, it must be nice to watch TV all day, like, do you know that I don't actually watch any TV during the day? I'm constantly chasing after the kids. So have those discussions, but you have to have them in a respectful way, because you are not going to garner any respect if you're flying off the handle. It's just not going to happen. So have these conversations and then talk about those minimum requirements of like, if the sink is empty, I feel like I can have peace in our home. If I know for my mother-in-law, it's the stove. My husband would always say, if the stove is clean, my mom will think the whole kitchen is clean. Like, we just have those things. Those, like, if the entryway is swept and there's not shoes all over the floor, I feel like I can have peace when I'm at home. Or it could be something with the kids. I mean, I think it's a wonderful gift to your husband if you can train those kids when he walks in to say, welcome home, Dad. If you can do that from a young age, that is a gift and a blessing. And as soon as, when they're little, they're excited that he's home, right? So it's kind of easy to like harness that excitement and say, welcome home, Dad. But just to have that time, I feel like I'm like reading out of a 50s What to Do as a Housewife book, but it's really good advice. It's just practical, loving, I want to do this kind thing for my husband advice of to have the home peaceful when he gets home, because that's what you would want. If you were at work all day, you would want to come home to a peaceful and loving home, a loving environment. I hope you can listen to those husbandly critiques as well as give them to your husband with respect, with honor. I mean, you guys, you love each other, right? Let's work this out in a good way. And I will be praying for you, because this can be really hard, especially if there are other sort of walls up. You have to deal with those walls also in a respectful and loving way, and that can be really hard if this is just one of many things. This is a smaller issue. This could be like a practice for the bigger issue. Work your way up to those bigger things maybe. But I know from experience these personal conversations can be very difficult. But I will be praying for you, ladies, and I hope that you can, if not garner appreciation from your husband, just know that when you do your work to honor the Lord is seeing and watching those things, and it is not going unnoticed. Someone is noticing all that you are doing, and when you do it with a proper heart unto God, really. Even if your husband doesn't notice this, the Lord does notice. If you could please, my lovely ladies, if you could please share this video with a mom who you might think needs some encouragement, I would just be totally blessed to be able to give advice and encouragement. Not that I'm like the greatest ever, but I've had some success, I've had some failure, and if I can pass that on to you ladies, I would just be totally blessed to be able to do that. And the other thing, for those of you who maybe have seen my videos before but haven't clicked that subscribe button, please subscribe, because there is definitely more coming.